The topic tonight is, I can make it tangentially related to this. It's about difficult conversations. And the difficult conversation, the question of the week in the dojo is, how do you deal with difficult conversations? And uh, you guys who are on Zoom right now, you've heard me talk about this many times. It's one of my favorite topics because it's one of the things in my own life that I've seen the biggest, like, 180 from the way that I used to be to the way that I am now. And the way that I used to be was, I don't like confrontation. I don't like difficult conversations. Anytime there's something that is like awkward or scary, I'm going to pretend that nothing's happening and just, hope that it goes away. And I realized at some point in the last decade or so that it just doesn't work so well. The case of the COVID conversation is a very black and white, very extreme version of this. But I'm sure that there are lots of people out there who, maybe get exposed and then they're like, I'm just gonna assume that I didn't get it and not really get tested, or maybe like me, get 3 negative antigen tests and just assume, well, obviously I don't have it. No. So it's a matter of coming face to face with what is really happening, and then being able to deal with it. So I just called one of our students not 5 minutes ago to let her know that she was in class and was exposed. And that's not a fun conversation to have, because especially right now, this is the holiday time. I had plans with like 3 different families that were all canceling now. And the wave going through, the students who are in class and the staff and all that stuff, it sucks. And this is where we're at right now. I think that it's just super important for us to recognize what's really happening and then have frank conversations about it as soon as possible. So with COVID, it's like, if you wait a day to have that conversation, it could have huge implications for other people's lives. And so we decided, obviously, as soon as we know, I've got to call everybody and tell them right away. But so many of the conversations that are like this, so many of the things that happen in life are not that cut and dry. They're not that simple. It's like, this is something that I could conceivably just put off for the next 10 years and never have to tell anybody about this. I'll just kind of hold on to it. I'll stuff it down deep inside and just, pretend that it's not happening, or hope that it goes away, or however that goes. And what I found for myself, and what I think most people find, is that this is not a very healthy way to go about it. These things fester, and they have like a real weight to them. These conversations that we know that we need to have. And the truth of the matter is that very oftentimes the conversation is like not that bad. The thing that happened, the thing that we want to talk about, is a big deal to us, but maybe not so much to other people. And we build it up and we psych ourselves out about it. And it becomes such a big, heavy thing for us that it becomes harder and harder and harder to have the conversation. So I'm not going to answer the question of the week, which is, how do I deal with difficult conversations? I can't answer it for you guys, but I can answer it for me. And this is not necessarily the only way to do it, but I will say that the biggest thing that I have come around to on this subject is to just have the conversation right away. Don't wait even a day. If it's something that you're scared about having this conversation, it's something that's going to weigh you down, the chances are just the longer you wait, the more it's going to weigh you down, the worse it's going to get. So you just get out in front of it, tell people what you need to tell them, listen. And sometimes the conversation will go terribly. Sometimes you won't handle it very well, and it'll be awkward, and it will have serious repercussions for you and your life. And it just, nothing ever really got resolved or better by just sitting on it and not having that conversation. So that's the main idea that I'd like to kind of get across tonight, is there is at least one conversation that you're thinking of right now. It is the conversation that is, as soon as I start talking about difficult conversations and that thing that you're worried about, that thing that you're scared about getting out there, it's that thing that you're thinking about and you're hoping that I'm not talking about it. It's this thing that you sincerely hope that you never have to talk about. And that is the most important conversation to have. This is the one that you want to just get out of your way. And it is so freeing and just so great. It will make you feel lighter when you have that conversation and you get past it. And then it's like, okay, now I just, you're standing a little bit taller, you're feeling lighter throughout your day. And this is just one of many examples of when one thing is kind of out of whack or out of place in life, it has a tendency to make everything feel that way. If there's one thing that you're holding on to, there's this thing in the back of your mind that you've got to deal with. And it might be a difficult conversation. It might be that, that thing that you need to get done for work or whatever it is. It kind of makes your whole day and your whole week or your whole year seem heavy. A related topic of conversation where we're talking about meditation, and this is something that I've talked about most recently with some very senior students who've been meditating for over 15 years, like daily. And they were saying, like, I love meditation. It's a hugely important part of my life. Like, I'm never going to be without it. And many days it just kind of sits in my head as like that chore, that thing that I've got to do. And you might feel that way about meditation. Sometimes you might feel that way about working out. Sometimes you might feel that way about something that you need to get done at work, whatever it is. But if you just wake up and do that thing first thing in the morning, then that's it. It's taken care of. And the rest of the day feels a lot lighter. So in general, if there's something that needs to get done, whether it's a conversation or a task, or it's something that is in your practice like meditation, and you get it done first thing in the morning, it's like everything else the rest of the day, it has this kind of power and momentum behind it because you had that thing that you took care of. And if it's something like meditation that might be really important to you, something that you have decided, like, this is part of who I am. It's how I'm connecting to my highest self. And if I do this thing, then I'm, doing my job as a human being. If you do that first thing in the morning, then it's like for the whole rest of the day, you have that feeling and that sense of power and momentum with you. So I'm just at this point kind of reiterating the same stuff, but get it done ASAP. Allow yourself to feel that power and momentum, and recognize as soon as you start to get that feeling of like, I'm scared of having this conversation, or I'm scared of doing this thing, and you start putting it off, and you start kind of fantasizing in your mind about how terribly it's going to go, or all the bad things that can happen because of it. As soon as you find all that stuff happening, the best way to just let go of all of that is to just have the conversation or do the thing that needs to get done. There's this, I'll call this a story, although it's being kind of generous, but I read this. I want to say it was from a Zig Ziglar book. If any of you guys have heard of Zig Ziglar, you're probably older than me, but my Sifu, I think either gave me this book or told me this story, and he said that there's a young man who goes to like the CEO, the head of this company, and he says, I've got this idea and I'm going to give it to you for free today. And all I want you to do is in 10 years, you just tell me how much you think it was worth and you give me that money. And in this version of the story, I think I think the guy came back 10 years later and gave him like $10,000, which is not a small amount of money today, but also I think in today's dollars, it would be closer to like $100,000 or $1 million. But the idea is as simple as this. When you wake up in the morning, you have a piece of paper and it's right there next to your bed, and you have a pen so you don't have to go looking for it. And you just write down the first thing, the first priority, the most important thing that has to get done today. You write down the second thing that has to get done today, and you write down the third thing that has to get done today. You write down 3 things, and then you start working on the first thing. You work on number 1 on the list, and then when it's done, you cross it off. And then you get to number 2, you work on that until it's done, you cross it off. You get to number 3, you work on that until it's done, you cross it off. And it is just a really simple way of thinking about the way that we prioritize things if we're doing it well. And it's kind of the antithesis to the way that many people end up living their life, which is like, this thing is so important that I'm worried about screwing it up. So I'm going to put it off and put it off and put it off. And maybe it never even gets done. And this is a severely limiting factor for us in our life. So I'm getting close to the end of this because my voice is starting to go bye-bye. But the main idea here, sorry, this phone is very crooked now. The main idea here is to know what's happening, just have a great relationship with reality, and get your priorities straight, know what needs to get done. And then as soon as you know what needs to get done, start working on it. Whether it's having that conversation, doing that thing that's important to you, like meditation or whatever it is, and just do it first. When we put these things off, we are mostly just kind of devaluing our own time and taking away our own power. So as you meditate tonight, this would have been in the dojo a long meditation, even though I think we did that last week, but I decided that this was going to be a long meditation to save my voice tonight. As you meditate, which tonight would be somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes, this is not the time to sit and think about all the things that you need to get done. You should have done that this morning. But if you want to, take a piece of paper and a pen and put it right next to your bed so that you know that's what you're going to do first thing in the morning. You're going to write down your priorities and get ready to go. Start working on it right away. Don't like, oh, let me just kind of hang out and go watch a couple of episodes of something first, because a couple of episodes of something turns into several hours of something or several seasons of something. This is what I've discovered over the last few days when I've been resting at home from possible COVID. So don't let yourself get that momentum going in the wrong direction. Get it going in the right direction. Do the most important thing first. And if it's a conversation, something that's been weighing down on you for days or weeks or months or years, this is the time to have that conversation. We want to finish this year as strong as possible. I hope for you guys that includes not getting COVID, but like decide, get everything done this year that you can. So we're starting 2022 with a clean slate, fresh as possible, ready to go, and just jump right into it. So next week, I'll be talking more about setting goals and how that all works with our practice. But for this week and this end of this year, it's about cleaning everything out. Be ready for next year. Sit comfortably.